that's only a piece of it. Part of it is also how do you deal with the bureaucracies. We had one of our folks who can't be here today because she has a temporary job, but would go down to the library, we'd file for unemployment, and help people with that, because the unemployment system in Indiana just sucks. And it's made to be incomprehensible. It's online. It's all that stuff, and many states are that way. So we had to. The other thing we had to do is start looking at the immediate problems of the unemployed as it's dealt with the unemployment office, and one of the ways that some of our folks dealt with it is within their local, those that are union based did some things. And Bob, you want to talk a little bit about what you guys did at your local?
Yeah, what happened, our local, having 14 years there myself, ended up getting laid off, and so I had a little bit of time on my hands, being laid off for 11 months. So I helped out the other folks that were being laid off, put in the hours of the phone calls at our local union hall, talking to the unemployment office, understanding what it took for these people to get unemployment, setting up the one-on-one discussions with the unemployment office to make sure that the information we got was correct so they would receive their benefits rather than being out there in limbo, because one little thing could throw off your unemployment and you wouldn't receive benefits. So it was spending those hours with those folks to make sure they received their benefits. There was a number of them that didn't get recalled back to work. I was one of the fortunate ones that did, but we at least built a support group within our local union to actually support those members, get them the information they needed so they could keep their benefits and get their benefits for the first time for some of them. And keeping that dialogue of communication open, letting them know if we heard of other places hiring, things of that nature. There's many questions about even relatives and friends that had been laid off, and we answered questions as we could. We had computers there to sit down and type in their information and go over their information and make sure that we really got that confidentiality so that way they weren't so they weren't hesitant to get our help because of personal issues, things like that. So we really spent the time to go over things and help those folks out to get the benefits they needed.
And then, as like in Bob's local, they took care of their unemployed within the structure of their local. That wasn't usually the case. We usually didn't have that kind of leadership. And I hate to say that to you, Bob. But anyway, so then the other issue is, how do we expand this to the friends and family? How do we bring other folks in this? How do we make this more of a what has developed in a different model that's developed, the worker center model that deals with particularly refugee and immigrant worker problems. How do we create essentially in that language a worker center for the unemployed and everyone? Well, we started getting folks together wherever we could. We started up in Kendallville getting folks together, and we also did it in Fort Wayne, and just to talk about their problems, which is a big piece of it. And then we created more and more content to get them to think about it more thoughtfully. And we brought in Mark and Al. You want to talk just a minute about some of the education programs you guys ran for us?
Well, there were a number of different kinds of things that we did. One of the better, more helpful programs was put on by the National Employment Law Project, and they know exactly how to jack up the workforce development people so that they provide the, what is it they call it, the lightning effect, or what?
Rapid response.
Rapid response.
Yes.
Yeah. We found our rapid response didn't exist in northern Indiana. They provided a lot of help in that regard. But we also did education that was basic employment rights, how the employment at will system works in Indiana, which is one of the worst in the country, and a variety of other kinds of things about the Fair Labor Standards Act and things that folks run into when employers are trying to take advantage of them and screw them over. Al?
That pretty much covers it.
See, we keep him around for his expert advice.
Yeah. Somebody tells you good job, you take his advice. Yeah, that's good commentary. Well, as we started dealing with these problems of how do you deal with unemployment issues at the unemployment office, one of the things that was happening is that in the state of Indiana, there's a piece of legislation that was going to cut benefits and eligibility for the unemployed. And we thought, well, this doesn't make sense. So we decided using Working America as sort of our guides, we went to the unemployment office with a petition. We started signing up people to the Unemployed and Anxiously Employed Workers Initiative. They'd come out of the unemployment office, we'd stand there and sign them up and say, well, come to our meeting. We just started organizing the unemployment office.
We also had the one in Auburn.
Yep,
Tom.
Auburn.
They took our pamphlets and started handing them out for us because they were getting crappy getting ones on their property.
Yeah, the workers themselves were going, hey, this ain't working. You know, the people who work at the unemployment office, they weren't happy with it. And eventually what we saw happening is that this piece of legislation, we had to do something. So we started bringing in the media and having our kind of media staged events there, and they worked very well, and it started the ball rolling. And eventually thousands of people showed up in Indianapolis, and that piece of legislation was completely revamped, and benefits and eligibility were not cut. So our folks saw that through collective action that they could initiate something, because what the one thing is clear, whether somebody has problems with foreclosures or no food or trying to get some training or whatever it is, the one thing that is universally true is that workers don't have any power. So all this is about building power, and that can only happen collectively. A worker by themselves is exactly what the employers want.